Hello, family. Our movie begins in a taxi as Katie Carter travels to meet with her modeling agent, Sharon, who informs her that she needs better-looking shots to have a chance at a modeling career. Disappointed, Katie, on the other hand, departs the restaurant to her home. On her way out, she spots an ad for free images of ladies and takes the information. When she arrives at her home, she runs across Jason, who is hunting a mouse. Katie laughs at her cute neighbor and helps him out of his predicament. After doing her thing, she lays a trap to catch the mouse. Katie walks into her apartment and settles in. She looks through her photo album and dials the number she copied earlier. On the other side, a man answers the phone and schedules her session. He then asks her to photograph herself, which she does. After receiving the photographs, he texts her an address, which she uses to get to the studio right away. Katie walks in to find Nicola, Ivan, and Georgie photographing a model on stage. Georgie dials Ivan's number, and he walks over to present himself as the man on the phone earlier. He then goes over the terms of their agreement with her and tells her to change into the clothing he chose for her. Katie takes the clothing and goes to the bathroom to change. She requests Georgie's assistance with a zipper. Georgie looks at her, aroused, as she poses for photos on the stage. Ivan, the photographer, urges Katie to remove her clothes after a hot photo session so they can get more skin on the camera. Katie refuses to do so and departs for her home. Katie finally returns home. Depressed with her current circumstances, Katie has a strange visitor the next day after her morning run. Katie is creeped out when Georgie shows her the images they took of her earlier. She keeps her cool and collects the images, gently thanking Georgie. Georgie looks through images of his new obsession around dusk, Katie, and proceeds to break into her home while taking out the garbage. Katie had left a portion of her door open. Georgie has already snuck himself in, so this is a minor oversight. She returns to her apartment, closes the door, and goes to bed. Katie awakens later in the night to find Georgie photographing her asleep. She panics, touches Georgie, and dashes outside to call for help. Georgie, however, wakes up and drags her back inside the apartment. He binds her and nearly has his way with her. Jason, who was in the other room, however, knocks on her door after hearing her screams. As soon as Jason enters the apartment, Georgie covers himself and takes him out, now in a pool of his own blood. Jason spends his final minutes witnessing his love interest be raped by a creep right there on the floor. The predator concludes after several minutes of abusing an innocent Georgie. Only then does he realize what he's done. Out of panic, he phones his brother and tells him everything. Ivan and Nicola arrive at the apartment a little time later. Ivan chastises his dense younger brother while assisting him in cleaning up. They scrub the blood off the floorboards with the famed bleach solution and imprint Katie's prints on the knife. However, Georgie used to murder Jason before the scene ended. Ivan pulls something from his pocket and shoves it into Katie's lips. Katie collapses after swallowing it. The following scene depicts Katie in a box being transported, all wobbly and all. When she wakes up, Nicola is on top of her, having his way with her. She attempts to shove him away, only to discover that she is already bound to a pole. Georgie enters and prevents his brother from abusing Katie. Katie then requests water and Nicola pisses on her. Georgie chastises his brother for his actions, and Ivan thankfully walks in and disperses them. Ivan follows the duo out of the room. Katie yells and screams that she wants to be rid of the creepy family as she laments her plight. The scene concludes in the following scene. Ivan compels their victim to stand while hurling water at her. He then requested that she wash for Valco, their father. Katie became agitated, so the boys shove something into her mouth. They then leave Georgie to clean her up. He walks out of the room after cleaning her up to find some clothing for Katie. Now they're gone. Katie vomits the medicine and falls asleep. Georgie returns with her clothing and awakens her. He frees her from her chains and assists her in getting dressed. After completely clothed, she knocks Georgie unconscious with a bucket and flees via the window. She sprints through town until she reaches the road, where people stare at her and she acts like a lunatic. The cops eventually come and accompany her to the station in the cop car. One of the cops informs her that she is in Bulgaria. Katie sobs, stating she has no idea how she traveled from New York to Bulgaria. Meanwhile, Ivan becomes aware of the situation and is notified back at the station. Katie demands that she be taken to the American embassy when her conversation with the detective comes to a halt. Just then, Anna Peter appears and requests some alone time with Katie. When she sees her, she informs Katie that she has a shelter for abused women. Katie keeps insisting on getting to the embassy. However, Anna insists on getting dressed and taking a shower before she arrives. Katie follows her and pays attention to Anna's invitation to her home. Eddie decides to follow her Samaritan to her house and it leads her to the basement, and she runs into Ivan and the lads again. Anna turned out to be Ivan and Georgie's mother. who is now in despair. Katie throws out a frustrated scream. Soon later, their father, Valko, enters with a taser. While Valko has his way with Katie, Anna plays some opera music upstairs. He uses the taser on Katie several times and watches her scream after he has his way with her. Ivan enters and teases Katie, who smacks him back. Ivan becomes irritated and punches her hard. The three guys then dig out some dirt to bury Katie in. Katie has multiple wounds, watches as the boys mock her doom. They carry Katie and place her in a box after digging the hole. Then they throw her necklace in with her and bid her farewell. Katie feels the dirt hit the box's outside lid as she thinks she only has a few moments to live. By evening, the boys have finished concealing the hole and placed the mattress on top of it. Within the hole, Katie has an odd sensation. Continue. She begs God to save her and hears a rumble at the bottom of the box. Apparently, the boys excavated their trench too deep, and Katie fell into the sewer while still alive. Georgie feels terrible when he takes comfort from his mother in the following scenario. Meanwhile, Ivan and Nicola plan their next steps, and Katie is no longer with us. Ivan says they can't risk returning to New York since it was too dangerous for them. Nicola mumbles as he threatens his other brother, Georgie. Katie awakens with sewer water in her mouth and must find a way to survive. She sashays around the sewer tunnels, calling out to anyone. She continues her quest through the sewers of rats and illnesses till she reaches a pile of garments after hearing nothing from anyone. She gathers what she can, including a lighter, and constructs a sleeping area. She then hears a rumbling sound and discovers a bird stranded in the sewers. Katie is overjoyed when she catches the bird and eats it for dinner. She notices some churning sounds from a distance and investigates. She then realizes the sound is coming from a church and infiltrates it. The church's pastor notices something strange and examines something spilled on the floor. Katie returns to the sewers and discovers some construction going on. Then she returns to the church and runs to the father, who was waiting for her. He tries to welcome her to the church, but Katie is unconcerned. He then offers her clothes and food, which she accepts before fleeing to her sewer house. She eats part of the bread and investigates her new surroundings. Fortunately for her, she discovers another exit leading to a busier part of town. She travels to the American embassy, but does not request refuge. When she returns to the church, she is seen staring at the cross. The Reverend Father approaches her and offers her assistance, but she declines and exits the church. The father chastises Katie, stating she can't run away from her problems forever. To which he says, "I'm not fleeing." Katie returns to the pit from where she fell and smiles maniacally as she considers her next step. Later that day, she infiltrates a residence and steals some money from it. Then, by nightfall, she chases Nicola and follows him to his favorite nightclub. The next day, she approaches Georgie in a restaurant and non-verbally invites him to accompany her to an abandoned house. Dense Georgie does so before being knocked out from above by an enraged Katie. At that moment, the father chats with one of his churchgoers, expressing his anxiety about what Katie will do to her violators. The man who is listening to the father asks for a description of Katie, which the father provides. They ponder together what an angry lady like Katie could do with her authority. Georgie awakens in the abandoned house, chained to a wall. Katie walks up to him and slashes his cheeks and abdomen. She then injected some goo into the wound, allowing an infection to spread and Georgie to die in a slow and horrible manner. Meanwhile, Nicola continues to party at his nightclub. He feels nervous as he swallows a drink provided to him by Katie. He hurries to the toilet to puke, but there he meets Katie. The medication then takes effect. He collapses and does nothing while Katie forces him to drink the crackhead's toilet. Nicola is expelled after drinking the foul toilet water. When someone pounds on the door hard, Katie washes her hand and hurries out of the toilet. Katie returns to Georgie and teases him even more as he yells. She takes up a stick and aggravates his wounds even more. Katie shoves some garments into his mouth and heads to church. She stalks Valko, who notices her and rushes his wife, Anna, home. Katie entices him to the sewers and knocks him out from behind. Valko notices that he is already tethered to a bed frame when he arrives. He gets a taste of his own medicine when Katie shocks him with the same taser he used on her. She uses the same strategy he used on her before until he picks his trousers and gets fried when she finishes with him. Anna returns home to find her room in shambles. She goes to investigate the opera music playing in the background while expressing her surprise. She is then forced into a hole by digging for Katie. When she wakes up, she screams out loud when she sees Georgie already succumbing to the infections. Meanwhile, Ivan returns home and witnesses the entire situation. He enters the basement and investigates. The father meets with the before-mentioned detective and takes him to the sewer. Katie slid out from under Ivan, approached Georgie, and was knocked unconscious from behind. When he approaches her, He notices his testicles going to be crushed by Katie and yells. He then informs Katie that Anna was similar to her and that Valko continued to violate her until Nicola was born. Katie rushes out of the box Anna was in and scolds her for putting up with the frightening old man. Katie vows to provide Anna with the same pleasure she had when she returns to Ivan. When she finishes her business, she pulls out his navel and begins slowly crushing his balls. The investigator from earlier, the one with whom the father was speaking, enters and holds Katie at gunpoint. Ivan takes advantage of the situation by strangling the detective, who is forced to kill Ivan. Katie then appears at the end. Anna, the detective, proceeds to the American embassy and enters with a smile on her face. Do you like this movie? Tell us in the comment. See you next video. We hope that you enjoy your time and have a good day.